Hello, everybody. Thank you so much, Andre, for the intro. I would like to start with something a little bit different. I ask you all to close your eyes and just listen.
Oh, Great Spirit, thank you for this water of life. Thank you for every glass of water we've ever drank. Giving thanks for the water we're going to use to continue life here on this beautiful planet. May the waters always remain pure and clean for the future generations. Singing to the water, praying to the water, dancing to the water. We live our lives surrounded by water every day. The human consciousness, this reality we call humanity, would not exist without this beautiful life-giving element. It's too bad in the dictionary it doesn't say water, a life-giving spirit, mother of all. Then maybe people would understand how important it is to give thanks, express our gratitude every day for water, for air, for these elements, for the sun shining upon the earth, making everything grow. Every plant, every animal that lives and shares this beautiful planet with us depends on water. We need to take care of it. We need to keep it clean. We need to make sure that everybody has water. It's a right as a person, as a living being here on earth, to have access to clean, pure water every day. So this is the way we see the future. We see the future with clean rivers, clean oceans. Humans could develop technology that doesn't pollute, that has no need to pollute. There's enough energy in the universe. There's enough technology to harness this energy, unlimited, inexhaustible amounts of energy. There's no reason to use technology in this day and age that doesn't keep the water clear and pure. So let's use our creativity. Let's use our initiative. Let's use our good senses to create a world where water is flowing abundantly in all corners of the world. Let's drink a glass of water every morning and pray to this water. Express how much we appreciate the spirit of water.
All right. I hope we got aligned a little bit with what we're going to talk about today. I'm very happy to be here. Even though I got such a thorough intro, I would say a few words about myself. I'm a chemical engineer, a surfer, nature lover, entrepreneur, consulting for agriculture, sustainable solutions. And I moved to Costa Rica, to a town called Nosara, 2 years ago from Israel. So let's start. So as you all imagine, we're going to talk today about the importance of sustainability in our water and what's happening in the wastewater in the world. And I would love to start with explaining a little bit about the importance. And if you listen a little bit to the words of this prayer, so we understand that water are pretty much the element that controls life on this planet. When we look for other planets that might have life, the first thing we look for is water. We know water purify everything. We know with the flow of water we can enable any ecosystem in this planet. So, of course, it's a very important element in our life. Taking a little bit some statistics, as for the UN, we do know that we have a world crisis about wastewater, looking specifically about developing countries, which I'm not sure exactly how to describe them today, but we're looking about less than 8% of the water that are treated. Can you imagine how many people live today on this planet without pure water, without access to basic hygiene? It's kind of crazy. And I think one of the biggest challenge of all of this is to understand that wastewater is an opportunity and it's not a hassle, it's not a hazard. We actually can do a lot of things with those wastewater. So if we look where and why they're so important, so like I said before, starting with protecting our ecosystems, all the life on this planet depending on our water. If we look about agriculture, food, we know that we have a big challenge with providing enough food in the world. Without a sufficient amount of water and clean water, we just won't have enough food for all of us. Public health, we know that a lot of contaminations, a lot of diseases, a lot of problems. Even here, I will talk about it soon, we already see the rise of all of those problems. So in order for us to have a basic health for ourselves, we need the water to be clean. And another element is understanding that with water we can actually generate energy. And actually, if I'm proud to be living now in Costa Rica and to see what these guys has been doing with regenerative energy and using green energy. So by what they say, it's more than 90% of the energy that is flowing in our houses here is produced by green elements. And one big example is Arenal Lake. I don't know if you know this place. It's around 3.5 hours from here. And it's actually a man's-made lake. And the purpose of this lake is to create hydroelectric power. So it means that we enjoy the potential height of the water and we actually create energy and electricity in a huge amount, only from this beautiful man's-made lake that is actually now one of the best places for kite surfing, nature, birds. So there's a lot of beautiful things to do. The challenges that we're facing, so scarcity of the water, we all understand that the population is getting insanely big. Even, where I used to live in Israel or here in Costa Rica where I live, I just see the amount of development. It's kind of crazy to understand how many people we have here and we need to supply this demand. How do we do that? Water pollution coming from different industries, agriculture, urban runoffs. There are just a lot of things to do. Another important thing to understand that we all have our own sins, starting from the big industries to our own home. We all really do and have problem with insufficient use of water. Did you ever think about your pool? How much water does that concern? What happens in my shower? Small things, there's a lot of things to do even on a home scale. And also, of course, the global inequities that we are facing, people that have no access to water. Even, to see the gaps in this country. So I live in a very wealthy, very similar and different vibe than Santa Teresa, but you can definitely see a village next to me that are drinking water from this water pit that it's completely not good for drinking, and this is what they have. So just, understanding those gaps and how close they are to us, it's kind of like crazy for me. And now let me ask you a question, the poo question, the things that people doesn't like to talk about so much. It's kind of like, okay, let's just kind of get rid of it and pass with my day. But where does your poo flush go? Where does it go here? When you did today your poo, do you know? Somebody knows?
Yeah.
Eventually, unfortunately, it goes to the ocean. We will talk about it today. This is actually the big subject that we're going to be talking about. And this is a beautiful imaging from an amazing organization. Came up in Osara. They do this amazing art. And they started doing it because we had a big problem. I know that you guys have here the same problem with red tide. So apparently red tide also is blooming because of our poo. They have so much food, so they can enjoy and they can stay, and the red tide doesn't want to go. The red tide, whoever doesn't know that this occurrence, it's kind of a special algae that carries with the currents in the ocean, and it holds a lot of space for really also kind of like bacteria that we don't like. That it's basically our own pathogenic bacteria that can hurt us really bad, also coming from our poo and from our industries, heavy metals, whatever you want, it's all happening there. So these guys created this beautiful art, and they're explaining here that even though in Costa Rica we have a law to have septic tank as a solution for treating our water. We'll talk about it soon, and you will understand why it's not such a great solution. Also, 75% of the houses in Osara, their systems are not sufficient, and they have a big dysfunctional problems. Just today I met at the beach a hotel owner that I know actually from Israel. Of course, we'll not talk in names. And I was just wondering to see what this guy is doing about his septic. And he told me, sometimes we get this funky smell. I'm not sure. I'm like, okay, dude, did you pump your septic tank? It's like, what? I don't have a septic tank. We have a hole with rocks. And I'm like, okay, now I get it. So, guys, do you know where is this picture taken from? I actually took this picture myself. This is the river at the back of Selena Beach, Santa Teresa. Looks beautiful, right? You want to dive and enjoy this water? It's pretty disgusting, to be honest. The smell was terrible. And you can see the plastic. I saw runoff of water coming from everywhere. And this is at the beach. This is exactly what we get when we go to swim in our ocean. And the ocean is doing an amazing job. It knows how to clean itself. But for some extent, at some point, it's not going to last anymore, and we are just in this tipping point. So this is kind of the time to start acting. So let's get a little bit technical. I hope you're going to make it. If it's too boring, just raise your hand and nothing to do about it. But it's important. So what is a septic tank, and why is it a solution, and why sometimes it's not a sufficient solution? So as you can see, regarding my question, this is our beautiful house here. We have our toilet, we have our shower. If we've been a little bit smarter, we can actually separate the gray water, what we call, from the black water. Gray water are the water coming from the kitchen, from the showers, which are in a very less problematic grade to treat. It's very easy to treat those water, but when it's getting mixed, it's very hard to treat them. Anyways, all of those water are going through one small tank that hopefully the people that installed it did it in a smart way. They were trying to be a little bit proactive and calculate the right size of the tank. If it's calculated properly, it should hold for 3 days averagely. It means after 3 days, every drop of water that came into this tank with our pool goes outside to the soil. So the first step of the septic tank, we call it in water treatment, anaerobic stage. We actually treat it with bacteria. It's all natural. This bacteria doesn't like oxygen. So we create an anaerobic environment for these guys, and then they start doing the first process of the cleaning of the water. But be sure the water that's coming out from this tank are not suitable and pretty disgusting, smelly, full with bacteria that we don't want to have close to us. If our septic tank is a good septic tank and we have a good drain system, it's going to go directly to what they call here in Spanish, drenaje. It's the drain field. It's kind of an environment that I create the aerobic bacteria to start be active and kind of like dissolve more of the effluent and make it actually really good at the end. So if the system works well, and as you can see, we have below our groundwater that we all drink from, yes. And if it works well, it goes there when it's already clean. But what happens if it doesn't work well? So let me tell you a story. When I moved first to Nosara, I lived in this beautiful house, like in a small kind of like a retreat center. It used to be called Costa Rica Yoga Spa, and it was just being purchased by this other guy. And when I got there, it's like, yeah, we have our own spring well water, amazing water. But the guy that was renting the house for me told me, look, I boiled the water before I use them, so don't drink directly from the water. And I'm like, okay, this is a little bit weird. And then the guy that bought the place, he wanted to do things right, so he did like a test for the water. So he knew that I'm in this kind of deal, and he approached me and he's like, Nitzan, can you have a review and check out this water? And we looked at the test, and they were full with nitrogen. Nitrogen is not supposed to be in our water. If we have nitrogen in the water, and I told him there are 2 reasons that can cause it. First one is fertilizer runoff, if somebody's overusing fertilizer. And the second one is if we have poop in our water. So he's like, okay, let me check it out. So he went to the well, and he saw that there is one house above the well. That house is this one hippie that has been living there in the last 20 years. Of course, he never checked or did anything with his septic tank. So as soon as they opened the septic tank, actually the trees, when it's getting dry, the dry season, they really like to find water. So they look for these kind of places. That's why they say never put trees around the septic tank. So the tree went all inside the septic tank, and there basically wasn't septic tank anymore. So all of this guy poo went into our drinking water. And it happens all the time, everywhere. Don't think differently. So septic tank is a good solution when we have specific conditions. And like we said, we need aerobic conditions. We need to have air. In order for us to have air, we need a good drainage. Half of the year in this peninsula where I live, where you guys live, we have heavy rain, and we have a very heavy soil. It's a very clay type soil. This soil absorbs water and doesn't let them go. What it means that our drain field is actually not existing. We don't have aerobic stage. And that's why it's not a good solution for Costa Rica. I wish we could do all Costa Rica at once and to make everybody understand that, but of course it's a process. But let me show you how it's supposed to be. Okay, so we have actually more solutions. We have the regular, on the left, this is our septic tank, and this is the first aerobic stage. And then we should have another stage, another aerobic stage in another tank with an forced aeration technique, which basically means we have a pump that's pushing air and can aerate the water over there and create aerobic environment for the bacteria to do its job. What are the challenges with this? For a pump to run, we need a control panel, we need electrical board, it costs money. So if we look at the home scale system, and there are amazing solutions. I know there are a few people here that installed in their house a system called BioNest. It's a very high-end system. It's a very good system. It treats the water and makes them reusable again. But it's not accessible for everyone because it's kind of like around, let's say, $10,000 to $15,000 per house. And this technique is what we're doing also in a very huge, big scale. For example, treating Tel Aviv city, treating New York. We have huge treatment plants. It works on the same process, but it's just been done in a larger scale. Now let me take you to Nosara. So I moved to Nosara 2 years ago. Officially, it was in February. I arrived there, I was super happy, surfing beautiful waves, blue ocean, having the time of my life. And then rain started kicking in, and I have like the meter, you know, I feel my eyes, I feel my ears, I see the color of the water. And then I meet this amazing woman called Vanessa. She's a PhD for marine biology. She lives in Nosara for the last 12 years. And she has this amazing organization called WCA. They're doing amazing stuff. But one beautiful thing that they do, they monitor the water. They take one test every week for years. And we know exactly the behavior of our water. We know exactly what it does. So as you can see here, you see all the red. Of course, it's not supposed to be red. In the center, we have kind of the standard from the WHO, the World Health Organization. This is like something very norm. And as you can see here, we have 4 different points. And in the rainy season, 2 of our main surf points are at least double the time of the pathogenic bacteria. It actually means danger. It means that people are getting sick. And people in the town are getting sick. Diarrhea problems, ear infections, eye infections, very weird things on the skin. Like you can't imagine, everybody knows about this problem. And you know, they can summarize here, you see like it's definitely poo. We can identify that it comes from poo. And 1 in 10 chances to get sick in this water that feels so beautiful and so amazing most of the year. And we feel like, we live in a blue zone. This is Costa Rica. Everything is pure. Of course, it's still the least of the worst that happens out there in other places. I don't want to talk how bad situation is in other places, but definitely here is getting bad. And this Vanessa lady, she's been working with another woman that has been doing the same thing in Santa Teresa. And she's doing this lab test for her. Guys, the findings are pretty much the same. So we all swim and surf in poo water. So I was super frustrated. Like, I couldn't believe it. I went half of the world, moved to this beautiful, clean country, and then I'm finding myself in the same awful situation. And I had kind of to revise my situation, and I'm thinking, and I'm like, I remember like I learned in university about so many beautiful solutions. I know how my country is beautiful in many things, and one of the things that we're really good at is like in technology and finding solution and being resourceful. And I gave it a look, and I started researching for solutions. And when you would know me a little bit better, you will understand that I'm a very practical person too. I'm not like this visionary that is in a fantasy world. I really understand that in order to make a change, you need to be really feasible, also financially feasible. So I've been looking really hard to find something that will really match this whole picture. And talking a little bit about Israel. In Israel, look at these statistics, okay? So in Israel, we reuse 90% of our wastewater. Why do we do it? Out of necessity. Not because it's fun or because we want to be green, because we didn't have water. That's why in Israel we invented, I don't know, maybe 40 years ago, the drip irrigation. This is another amazing example. Okay, so in Israel, a lot of things grew because we had to. Otherwise, we couldn't grow food. Otherwise, we couldn't have water. So we kind of understood that we have to reuse our water. But look at the second ranking. Okay, Spain is in the second ranking with 15% only. I don't think Spain is less dry than Israel these days, by the way. And United States, they are less than 10%, for instance. So we do understand that there are things that we can learn from Israel. Also, we have a lot of advantages in Israel. One advantage in Israel that it's a very small country. So it's very easy to centralize the technology and make it kind of like with the infrastructure and make it really easy to do. But I was also looking and seeing that there are a lot of other solutions that now they're taking a different approach, what we call decentralized approach. So we're trying to find areas that are more rural and they're very disconnected. And this is, for instance, like why only in the States 10%, because the United States is very big and you have a lot of rural areas and it's very hard to reach to all of these areas. But what we find now that actually the technology that works for the big scale can work for the smaller scale in a very similar efficiency and amazing outputs. And this is an example of technology that I found in Israel, and it's called a biodisk. It has a lot of interesting advantages, but I would say that in a nutshell, the biggest advantage that the operational costs, the energy cost of the system, like to run it for long term, are very, very low. So for the long term, it changes completely the business model. So how does it work? Almost done with the technical stuff, guys. Hold on. We have the first stage. It's the same anaerobic stage. We have like a huge septic tank. And then for the second stage, instead of pushing that air with that pump that takes a lot of energy, we have kind of a biodisk that is spinning. And the bacteria is actually living on those small microscopic biodiscs. And the only thing we need to do is to spin this biodisk very slowly. That's why it can run on a solar panel. That's why it can be done very easily on a rural area without any issue. And it clears the water. So again, to just make it clear, it's completely natural. We have zero chemicals involved in this process. It's a very small footprint. It's a very efficient by size. It has no noise. And as you can see here, these are an example for multiple kind of biodiscs that we can attach together. It means that if our community is getting bigger, we can scale as we go. So it's a complete modular solution. As you can see here, this is in Israel. We have a totally off-the-grid system. And again, like I said, it's definitely modular and we can just scale as we go. And now let's talk about the amazing benefits of the water. Okay, so we are reusing. We can have all that water that has been wasted now and has been thrown everywhere to our own use again. And whoever lives here enough time knows that as much as it feels like Costa Rica has an abundance of water, and many things here, like in Israel, they come from necessity. Here, I would say that many things don't happen out of necessity. You feel like, oh my God, I have everything, I have so much water, I have so much rain, but with all this rain and all this water, none of the water are being captured, no rainwater capturing, and actually half a year, this whole peninsula is super dry. I know that in Osara we have a lot of water shortage and a lot of problems with water, and the water company, the Asada, would really love to have additional water so they can reuse it and do amazing things. We have amazing projects happening in Osara right now, and they're all kind of like interested in making this to come true. So why am I telling you all of this? Or like we say in Hebrew, what is the tachlis of all of this? Like, what are we really doing and what's going on? So I will share with you that after finding this solution in Israel, I brought it to the table in Osara, in the water company. They call it Asada here. It's kind of like those cooperations. And after a journey of half a year of presentations and meetings with all the organizations, we built a full project plan to connect all Osara to one treatment plant, and the Asada approved the plan, and they assigned me to be in the head of a committee that is going to implement this solution in Osara, which for me is really exciting. And also, the reason it worked, because I really made them understand that the business model works, and I really want to explain you what does it mean. So for the Asada, they can charge only a very minimal amount for their water. It's like the same for all Costa Rica, of course, it has to be equal. So they have very low taxing option. But if they're gonna have a sewer system, they can have more taxes that they can charge by law. So it means that when we're going to get them connected, they can actually start having recurring income to their Asada. And then they say, we want it. So we created the incentive for them to make it happen. Again, to give you an example of the costs. So let's say that if we're talking about developments that are around 50 houses and more, it can be even thousands, but let's start with 50 houses. It can get down to $3,000 per house. This is almost equal to a septic tank installation if you do it correctly. And then you don't need to pump your septic tank. You don't have problems in your septic tank. I've been approached, Sarah, I've seen crazy situations. People can't flush their toilet. It just doesn't go nowhere. They live at the ocean, and all the water are just being pushed away. So all of these problems are just being solved in a moment. And now, why am I here? Why I'm so happy to be here? I got this beautiful opportunity to come here and talk, and Yoko has been an amazing host for me. And also, I'm really happy to declare that Yoko decided to adopt the technology in their village and to be the pioneers in Santa Teresa to start creating an amazing impact and a change in this town, and it has to come from us. So this is the time to start moving and start doing things. And thank you so much for Yoko. I really appreciate you guys. And thank you so much for your time.